We will, our meeting minutes are posted on rolandopark.org and also recording the presentation or recording our meeting tonight. Okay. Dues and memberships, Cheryl Bailey.
Hello, we have 16 members for $204 in dues, can't talk tonight, $102.17 in donations for a total of $306.17. That makes 14 renewals and 2 new members.
All right. Okay, so next, thank you, Cheryl. Next, we'll move on to community updates with Lynn.
Thank you. I'm sharing my screen again. Just got a lot of people to thank tonight because we finished up quite a few little projects from last year. And the first one is one that Sonia and I have been engaged in for the last year with the owner of the 7-Eleven College in Billman. That section did not have a quiet zone as the other side of the shopping center did. So we worked, and especially Sonia, because she stayed on Jossie's case for the better part of a year to get him to commit to doing this. But we put up a couple of quiet zone signs out at the gas pumps and one in the window. And it's like the other side of the shopping center. We just want to remind people who stop and get gas not to leave your stereo blaring because there are residents right across the street. So it's just a little bit of a gentle reminder. And I also want to thank Dave Castro, our resident volunteer. Dave came out on a Sunday morning at 7 o'clock and put the signs up for us. So yes, thank you. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Next, I wanted to report on something that we talked about a little bit last month. And that was encouraging our residents who live along Xena Canyon and in the open space around Celia Vista to complete a letter of agency with San Diego Police Department. And the reason being because we have a lot of homeless encampments in Xena Canyon. And having a letter of agency with the police department does allow the police to come onto your property if they need to remove someone or deal with other issues. So we did send out 140 letters, didn't send them out. Volunteers walked and distributed them to neighbors along the canyon and Celia Vista. So I want to thank the volunteers, and that's Sonia, Michelle, Cheryl, Kara, and Jerry. They all distributed the letters, and we already have people contacting us, and we'll be distributing signs starting at the end of this week. So we do have some signs that we're giving out at no cost to anyone who completed a form with us. They can put this up at the edge of their property along the canyon. It's basically just some awareness for anyone who's down there that they are on private property. Okay. And so next we want to talk about some of the actual issues that are being addressed at Xena Canyon finally. We have had an ongoing problem there. I think, Sonia, last time we talked, you said you thought there were somewhere between 7 and 8 encampments there.
Yeah, there's around what you can see. There's at least like 7 or 8. Yeah, and the police officers walked around along with the school, walked around there, and they said they saw quite a few.
Right. So I want to give a big T to tenacious Sonia because she has been staying on top of this for the last year. And finally, after being tossed from Get It Done to San Diego Police Department to the school district, back to the police department, and finally someone at the school district did acknowledge that because it's on their property, it is their responsibility. So the plan is, I don't think he's been in yet, but they're going to bring a team in and evict the illegal campers because they are on school property. And then long-term school facilities is going to come out and remove most of the brush on the school property. And that should deter some of the encampments that we see because there isn't going to be any place to hide there. So once again, thank you, Sonia, for following up because this is a big issue. This is, I think, the last thing I wanted to say. It's official now There were no legal challenges to the map that was approved by the Redistricting Commission in December. So Rolando Park and Redwood Village are going to be moving to District 9 after the November election. The impact for us is that we will not be voting for a city council member this year. That's part of the charter. We'll be moving from District 4. So the next time that we will vote will be 2 years from now. We'll be voting for a District 9 city council member when we're in District 9. Okay. And I think that's it. The other thing I just wanted to say, our park is open. Please go and check it out. And I will say we have had a lot of hiccups along the way with the security patrol getting out to open it up in the morning or getting out there at night to close it up. Last Saturday, they completely forgot and the park was closed for the entire day. So the area manager actually got quite a few complaints. I hope will be smoothed over now. And also we received quite a few questions from people about what we can and can't do at the park. So we will, I sent a list to Dave and we should be hearing back from him next month. I'll be able to give an update on some of the things people asked about, like off-leash area, community garden, can we plant more trees? We should know more next month. So I also put up just now a list of events so far that we planned for this year. We are talking with the City Park and Rec about the permits that we would need to have a movie in the park night this summer. We haven't finalized plans yet. We will be doing some community cleanups. So if you have any other suggestions for the community council for events you'd like to see this coming year, why don't you just drop them in the chat tonight and we'll take a look and we can talk about them later, okay? That's all I have for now. Thanks. Any questions? No? Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're moving right along. So we open it up for public comments on non-agenda items. And so we ask that you hold it to 3 minutes. So I would like to see if you can do by a raise of hand, if you'd have to have any comments you wanted to make. Anyone? And if you don't know how to raise your hand, you can speak up. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone. All right. Okay, so going once, going twice. All right, I'll move on. All right, so I'm going to go to our community reports, and the first representative, and possibly the only, Jawad al-Baghdadi from the Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs' office.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Sonia. That got to me a lot quicker than I anticipated. It's really good to see you all today. It's been a little while. I hope you and your loved ones are having a safe, happy, and healthy holiday. Just here to share a couple of updates from Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs on the past month. Starting with updates in DC, she's been busy working on a couple of different priorities. She voted to pass the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act out of the House. She's also been working closely with her colleagues to find other options for the child tax credit that expired this past month. As you may know, if some of you have children, there were up to $300 monthly payments for each child during this past year. Unfortunately, that was only a one-year program and it needed reauthorization, and that authorization lapsed last month. And so she's been working with her colleagues to try to find a resolution going forward, whether that means being passed as part of a bigger act and being a smaller act, a smaller part of the legislation. I know sometimes I sound like I beat the drum on this a lot, but it has been so impactful to so many families in the 53rd Congressional District. It's estimated to have returned $192 million to 80,000 California 53 families, and estimated to have cut child poverty in half in the United States if you're just accounting for this. And the ways that the child tax credit helps, it's not taxable income. It's because it's considered a tax credit. So for people who, for example, are getting rental assistance or some other, they can use this sort of tax credit. Doesn't reduce the other assistance that they get. And so research has shown people are using this to pay down credit. They're paying for their children. I grew up on some of those programs. Sorry, I apologize. It's a little personal for me because when I was younger, I wish my parents were able to benefit from something like this, because it means children who don't get a chance to participate in recreational sports or something like that, their parents can actually afford something like that for them. And so we acutely understand how important that is for our working families, and we're committed to continuing to do that. A couple of other things that the Congresswoman has done, she actually went to, so she sits on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and so she and other members of the committee actually went to Ukraine and NATO about 2 weeks ago, and met with the president and met with NATO leaders, and trying to prevent a way out of this war. There have been some news reports that maybe those efforts were for naught soon enough, but can't say we didn't try our best. And so in the district last month, Congresswoman Jacobs visited a couple of city streets, actually, as a follow-up to the bipartisan infrastructure bill that Congress passed not too long ago. So we're really looking forward to working with our local elected officials to make sure San Diego is getting its fair share of that funding. A lot of it's actually tied up in what's called, so there is formula funding, which is money that automatically goes to municipalities, but there's a lot of competitive grant programs that different municipalities across the country are going to be applying for. So we're going to be working hard with our officials here to make sure we are getting those funds and we're supporting those applications. On MLK Day, Congresswoman Jacobs was glad to join Project New Village at the annual MLK Day of Service at the Mount Hope Community Garden. And fortunately, we were also able to participate in a couple of Lunar New Year festivals this past month, including the one in City Heights, where we were able to give out some awards and recognitions to community leaders. And we're also really looking forward to seeing you all soon at our table at the Rolando Street Fair. So hopefully we'll be able to see all of you in person next month. Last couple of things that I wanted to cover really briefly. I know I talked about it in the last meeting. If you'd like, you can get free COVID tests. The Health and Human Services Agency is delivering 4 free COVID rapid tests to anybody who wants any. It's run through the U.S. Postal Service website. Very easy to sign up. You just put your name and your address and you can sign up for it. I know there have been a couple of technical issues that they're still working out through. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is the Health and Human Services Agency is also distributing N95 masks. So those masks actually come from the national stockpile. So they've been distributing that to retail pharmacies across the country, and the pharmacies have kind of been doing it in their own way, releasing those. You're supposed to be able to get at least 3. I do know, and I've heard stories of some pharmacies giving out bundles of 10. So maybe you're at a lucky pharmacy where you can get quite a bit of those. But if you have any questions about that, please let us know. Lastly, I wanted to talk about a program called the Federal Broadband Benefit. So last year, when Congress passed the American Rescue Plan, they included a program called the Emergency Broadband Benefit. And what that was basically a $50 monthly credit to anybody that had been affected by the pandemic, whether that was, they had lost a job, they had reduced income, whatever it was. So it was a $50 credit for internet, for broadband service. So that program had about a year funding, and it slowly went away. And so what Congress did is they passed a new program called the Federal Broadband Benefit. And so it's basically the same program that's on an extended time period. And I'm going to include some information in a moment on if you're interested in participating on how you can do that. Those are all my updates for the day. I hope I made up for if there's not any other reps. I know it's quite a bit. I'm glad to take questions if anyone has any.
No problem. We only had a couple of others show up, so good. You can fill in the time. Any questions for Jawad? Don't see any hands. Anyone? Okay, well, thank you, Jawad, for joining. Appreciate it. Okay, so then I will move on to Bruce Williams from City Council Member Monica Montgomery Stepp's office.
Greetings all. Bruce Williams, Council President Pro Tem Monica Montgomery Stepp's office. Good to be with you. I'm going to try to keep mine very short because we're learning that we can take up a lot of time in these community meetings, and we want to make sure that, you know, I want to make sure that I don't get in the way. Couple of things always. Get it done. Please continue to use Get It Done. It's a great tool. More and more folks are using them. Last I understood, we're not using them, that tool, as other districts are. So we always want to remind folks to do that. And if anyone wants to talk to the council member, we can set up a 20 to 30-minute session with her. Generally, they are held on Fridays. So talk to the council member about things related to the city of San Diego or our district, your neighborhood. So you can do that by calling Stephanie in our office, 619-236-6644. Items related to Rolando Park. One, we know that one of your priorities has been about safety, and in particularly traffic. I've been working with Mr. Gene Matter. He is the person who has been my contact dealing with the V calming devices, and I'm trying to keep Lynn updated when it comes to his updates. I expect one in the near future, but you won't have to wait until the next meeting in order to get that, Lynn. I will have that ready for you as soon as I get it. Okay, Gene Matter. And the other item I wanted to share, there was a shooting down in, I believe it's called the Village Green Apartments off of University Avenue, which is indeed a portion of, it's a part of Rolando Park. And I got a couple of calls from folks that live there, and they're concerned, so much concerned that our office is going to go and meet with them tomorrow on site at their facility to get a better understanding of what they feel is going on there. It looks like there may be growing gang activity in that apartment complex. And part of the challenge, I did talk to the manager there today, is that because of COVID, lots of folks aren't paying their rent. And when rent isn't paid, you can't really hire security to kind of take care of certain challenges that happen. So the shooting on, I believe it was either Saturday or Sunday, it was very scary to the residents that live there, their children in that facility. So I've got a meeting scheduled and did get it okay with the management there to go and talk to the residents, talk to the mayor's office. I'll be there. Perhaps members of the police force will be there as well to see what we can do to calm down the issues that are happening there. So those are the two items that I wanted to bring up to share. If there's any questions, I'm happy to attempt to answer them.
And what was the name of that apartment?
Village Green Apartments on Vanilla. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a question, Bruce.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Last week, some streets were re-slurried in Rolando Park. I don't know what schedule they were on, and we'd like to know why they were re-slurried. Normally, we should be grateful for that. Yes. They aren't streets that we asked to have re-slurried. And in fact, they're in a section of Rolando Park that's in phase 2 environmental review for undergrounding. So I was under the impression those streets would have a moratorium for resurfacing and slurring. And yet the city was out and re-slurried 4 streets. They're adjacent to a street that we asked a year ago to get fixed, and that's 69th. Mm-hmm. And we do have a whole section back off Billman, notably Newsom, that hasn't been able to get a street fixed in more than 5 years now, because we've been trying since Myrtle Cole was our city council member to get those streets re-slurried back there. They just made the allocation last year for undergrounding, which means it could be another 10 years before we see undergrounding. So again, we're just curious about why those specific streets were reslurried in Rolando.
Okay, Lynn, can you repeat those streets for me? Those the ones that were slurried?
The 3800 block of Aragon,
Okay.
Veronica between Aragon and 69th, Livingston, and 69th from Celia Vista to Livingston.
Okay. All right. Let me check into that. Maybe by the end of the meeting, I
Okay.
will have an answer for you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, thank you very much.
All right. I'm talking when I'm muted. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate it. All right. So next we have Ana Laura Martinez from County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher's office.
Good night, everyone. Ana Laura here, she, they pronouns. Just a few quick announcements, you all, and pass it back to you, Sonia. So just really quickly, at the last January Board of Supervisors meeting, $7 million from the ARPA funding was allocated to open more community gardens in our most underserved and under-resourced communities. So if this organization will be working on any community gardens, we definitely encourage you to apply to that funding. And we'll probably be getting information on the rollout applications in the next month or so. So you'll definitely be hearing from me about it more. The San Diego County Sheriff Bill Gore recently announced his retirement will be effective starting February 3rd, so a few weeks ago. The board will be holding a special meeting in March to select the interim sheriff in the meantime. Chair Fletcher does not believe the Board of Supervisors should influence the decision of the voters this close to an election by appointing an interim sheriff who is currently a candidate for sheriff on the 2022 ballot. So that's going to be happening next month. And let's see, in 2019, Chair Fletcher launched our Live Well on Wheels program. Since then, over 20,000 San Diegans have accessed county services via this mobile platform. So this includes like services, responding to wildfires, dental screening, and so much more. And we now have more buses that are available here in San Diego to do that. And your organization or any organization can request to have the Live Well bus join you at any future community event too. So I'll include a link if any of you are interested in requesting a Live Well event for any future events. And lastly, just, I know I've shared it at the last month, but just reminding folks that our office compiled the 3-year impact report. It's incredible, but Supervisor Fletcher and the office has successfully passed 95 policies since coming into office 3 years ago, and would definitely love for y'all to take a look at it. But that's all I have on mine, y'all. If there's no questions or comments, I'll pass it back to you, Sonia. Thank you.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Ana Laura? All right, well, thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it. All right, so that kind of went quickly. I think that's everyone we have from as our representatives. So if Diana Mosley is ready, we'll move on to our presentation. Diana Mosley from Represent San Diego, and that's a local partisan, nonpartisan democracy reform organization. Okay, and so she will be presenting today.
Okay, so let's see if I can share my screen.
Yeah, you should be able to share, Diana.
Yeah.
I changed it for you. Okay.
Okay, I have to get things rolling here. Go. There we go. Okay. Well, thank you very much for letting me come tonight and talk to you about Represent Us. Again, my name is Diane Mosley. I am a volunteer with Represent San Diego, absolutely not a professional with this. But I'd like to talk to you tonight about what we're doing. I'm joined tonight by Amy Tobia. She is the leader of our local Represent Us group. She's going to make a few comments later on in the presentation. So who are we and why should you care? Well, we think that, I wanted to make sure you understand that, we think that all of the issues that impact us today from a city, county, state, and country level are really intersectional. And what this means is that the things that we care about overlap with several others, and nothing's completely independent. Solving these problems often comes down to questions of who has access to the vote, who gets representation, and who do politicians work for. So tonight, this conversation will be about our organization and how we're working to protect democracy, and most importantly, how you can help. So who are we? Let me talk a little bit more about that. So to boil it down to the real basics, we believe in we the people. You know, the mission of Represent San Diego is to protect our democracy and ensure that our votes count. We want to bring more choice to our elections and reduce the power of moneyed special interests to influence our government. But we're not alone. We are working with a lot of other nonpartisan organizations here in town to do these kind of things, including we also work with National Represent Us. So let me tell you a little bit about them. So Represent Us has campaigns all over the country, and we've had many successes. And as you see on the graphic on the right, we've had over 126 reforms nationwide that we've helped to enact over the period from 2015 to 2020. You know, and these include all the things listed there, you know, mail-in voting, anti-gerrymandering, ranked choice voting, all of this kind of stuff. And you see the colors are different in different states because what people face, you know, what the voters are dealing with are different in every state. So for example, you see anti-gerrymandering work in Ohio and Michigan, but not so much in California, since we have an independent panel that draws our districts in California. But what we are doing is working locally and in many different parts of the country to help protect our votes. And we do this because historically, when there's enough change at the local level, this drives change at the national level. And that's what we're trying to get to. So let's talk more specifically about voting reforms that we're looking at here in San Diego. And we are proposing and hoping to get on the November ballot a question about ranked choice voting and let the voters decide. So in case you don't know about it, I'll tell you what it is. So ranked choice voting, this proposal specifically would impact the city council, city attorney, school board, and mayoral races. And the proposal is for a top 5 field of candidates to advance to the general election when most people vote. If 5 or fewer decide to run, then the primary would be canceled, which saves money for both the city and for candidates. Voters would be able to rank all the candidates in the primary if it happens, and also the general election when more people actually turn out to vote. So the choices of the majority of people would be heard. Now you see the little logo in the top right. Well, that is a coalition of a whole lot of groups, and they include, for example, League of Women Voters, the Independent Voter Project, Take Back Our Democracy, I can't talk either, American Promise, and Business for America. So it's a wide range of organizations that support it. So how does it work? Well, you'd get a ballot that would give you the option of voting for up to 5 candidates for an office. And so what you can do is you would rank the candidates in the order of your preference. So when everybody votes, the first choices are tallied. If no candidate gets 50% of the first choice votes, then the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated. But those voters still have a voice, because those voters that chose the eliminated candidate first now have their second choice candidate as their first choice. And this continues until a candidate has more than 50% of the vote. So question would be, why is this needed? Well, one of the best offshoots of ranked choice voting is that candidates have to emphasize policy rather than party or demonizing their candidate competitors. So with ranked choice voting emphasizing policy, the results of elections showcase the opinions of the voters on policy choices. And with a plurality of election, you only see who the voters like the least, but not why they supported them. In addition, you get to vote for your actual preference, even if you think that candidate may not win in the first round, your vote's not wasted. It's also what they call it, you wouldn't have a split vote where you have to vote for somebody you kind of like to prevent somebody you really don't like from getting elected. It encourages more candidates to run, and those that run reflect the local communities. It's, one thing I like about this a lot is that there's more women that run for office, and it encourages positive campaigning because candidates are encouraged to be the second choice of another candidate. So it's less likely, and it's been seen in some areas that have this, that candidates campaign together. So you have less of a chance of seeing those nasty mailers that you get every election that trash the other person and are partially true and all that stuff, because what candidates have to do is emphasize the issues. So to give you kind of an idea of how this looks, this is not quite to scale, but a Minneapolis election, and it shows you how the minority candidates in the first round have their votes moved to other candidates in the second round until they finally had a candidate get over 50%. So it really shows that you don't lose your vote, you don't waste your vote by voting for the policies and the candidate that you like. So one of the other things that Represent San Diego is working on is campaign finance, because as we all know, there's lots of money going on to influence elections, and we think that everybody should be created equal in that way. So one of the things we're working on is called democracy dollars. And I'm very proud to say that Represent San Diego has written, directed, filmed, and produced a video about democracy dollars right here in San Diego. This effort brought out both professionals and volunteers and made it happen. And it outlines the proposal that we have. And so I'm going to show it to you right now. And if you look real hard, you might see somebody that you recognize in here. If it's going to let me do it. Okay, here we go.
Diane, I can't hear the sound. You might need to make sure that when you sign in, there's a checkbox to enable sound, and we just have to make sure that that box is checked. I can't hear it.
Enable sound where?
It's part of the Zoom login.
Okay. Then I'm going to have
I think if you unscreen share and re-screen share, it will pop back up and ask you again. It asks you when you start your screen share if you want to share your audio. If I'm not mistaken.
Stop share.
I know it worked on our test. So
okay, share screen. Okay, I'm going to share.
So look on that box, that share screen box that it brings up.
Ah, there it is.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Let's see if I can run this back. Can you hear it now?
Our San Diego community is amazing.
Bye, boys. Have a good day.
We work hard. We take care of each other. We try to build a brighter future for everyone.
Fully charged.
And we come together to get things done. Sometimes, though, no matter how hard we work,
Hey, Amy, we are so happy you are running for city council.
we don't see our city make progress on the issues we care most about, from affordable housing to great schools to good-paying jobs.
And this is how you get there.
That's a lot of money.
Yes, it is. Shall we go?
When we vote, we hope to give the keys to our community to leaders with the brightest minds and most commitment.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of City Council.
But with the amount of money needed to run in our local elections, candidates spend far more time fundraising than listening to voters. Too often, wealthy special interests try to pull our leaders off track. And we pay the price. But it doesn't have to be this way. We deserve leaders in City Hall who take direction from the people they serve. There's an innovative way where candidates can listen to the whole community while running for office, rather than just to big money groups.
A community infrastructure forum, I can do that.
And then we go to the pancake breakfast.
We need to bring small donor financing to San Diego city elections and put candidates who respond to voters in the driver's seat.
Democracy dollars. It makes sense.
Here's how small donor financing works. As an eligible voter, you would receive 4 Democracy Dollar certificates worth $25 each to give to the candidate or candidates of your choice at the beginning of each election cycle. Your Democracy Dollars help the candidates you like best run for office and limit the influence of powerful special interests. A similar program in Seattle is transforming local elections, boosting voter turnout, increasing the number of voters who contribute to candidates, limiting the influence of the wealthiest donors, and encouraging candidates from all walks of life to run for office. By allowing candidates in our city to run for office without having to depend on big, outside corporate sources of money, we can keep our elected officials accountable to us. Candidates can only accept your Democracy Dollars after qualifying and agreeing to additional campaign finance rules.
That sounds good. So here's one for now. And I'll see you at the candidates forum.
Oh, absolutely.
Democracy Dollars encourage candidates and their communities to connect because every event, from knocking on doors, to pancake breakfast, to public forums, is now an opportunity to earn votes and collect Democracy Dollars to fuel their campaign.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of City Council.
Congratulations.
Join us, make your voice heard, and let's work together to bring Democracy Dollars to San Diego, returning power to the people and driving us forward. Find out how we can do this at democracydollars.info.
Let's see. Oh, hold on. There we go. So I hope you liked our little video. It was really fun to come together and do this. So to recap, we are basing the proposal for Democracy Dollars on a campaign that, or on a system that's actually been in force in Seattle for some time now. And we're working with a number of organizations. You saw in the video Common Cause and League of Women Voters for Voters Voice San Diego. But every voter would get this publicly funded certificate to give to the candidate or candidates of their choice. And we think that candidates shouldn't spend all their time making calls to big money donors, and they should spend their time working for us. And we think that by implementing Democracy Dollars, we'd be able to do that and increase participation in elections. We're hoping that this might make it to the ballot in 2024. And so wanted to make sure everybody has heard about it. The next piece that we're working on is called the Transparency Dashboard. And what this is a way of making information about who donates to politicians much easier to look at. Now, City of San Diego does publish fundraising data for candidates, but if you've ever looked at it, what you have to do is you have to go into each candidate's filings and look at their spreadsheet and add up all of the things that they've filed over time, and then do it for every other candidate to be able to compare it. It's, if you've ever looked at it, it's awful. I have. And so what we're supporting with Open San Diego is a way of putting all this information together in one place, so it's easy to say, okay, who's donating to whom, how are they spending their money. So what you see on the screen right now is a mock-up that was done for the prior election. But I went in today and I looked at a particular race. And this happens to be Jennifer Campbell, because I live in District 2. And I wanted to make it bigger so you could actually see what's out there. And so they look at how much they've raised, how much they've spent, what sort of people have contributed. And one thing that I thought that really popped out to me is the in-district versus out-district campaigning. And so in this particular district, most of the money has come from somewhere else, not even our own district. And it also outlines what she spent on what things, so campaign consultants and office expenses and that kind of thing. So it gives voters a real idea of, you know, who's influencing these candidates, and makes it easy to look at. So at this point, I wanted to turn it over to Amy Tobia to make a couple of summary comments, and we'll take some questions. And we also have a couple of slides following about events coming up, and if you're interested in becoming involved, where you can go for information. So, Amy.
Thanks, Diane. As Diane mentioned, I'm Amy Tobia, and I'm one of the volunteer leaders for Represent Us San Diego. I'm also actively involved in the More Choice Ranked Choice voting effort, and actively involved in the Voters Voice Democracy Dollar campaign. And I sit as a proxy for NANNER, which is the National Association of Nonpartisan Political Reformers, the worst name ever for an organization that does not roll off your tongue. But one of the things I get asked all the time is, how can you be nonpartisan and be involved in politics? And I think that's a really good question, because I view nonpartisan reform as being intrinsically good for the voters and good for the integrity of our democracy. And it's not going to give any power to, you know, a specific party or give power to a specific entity, but it's going to make it better for me as a voter to have a direct connection with my elected leaders and a direct connection with our voting system. So, well, you look at our 3 initiatives that we're working on, and one of the things I'm most proud of is this is all volunteer given. We have just started fundraising for More Choice, and we received a small grant for the video, but everything that we've done that you've seen, you know, represented here that we've been working on for the past few years has been done with community volunteers. So we're really trying to make an impact on these election changes with ourselves and our own power and effort and energy. And it takes a lot of time and work. Just building that dashboard took them 2 years, and they did it as an all volunteer basis. So I encourage you to check it out. They're trying to give the community members tools to feel better about our local democracy through transparency. But one of the things that I think people look at is, oh, you're doing so many different things. We're also looking at another campaign finance reform effort. But I like to think about it more holistically, as how our elections would feel and be for all of us if we implemented all of this, right? So think about with democracy dollars. Seattle saw an increase of 300% in the number of people who donated to campaigns. And that chart that Anne showed early on, where she said, you know, you can see who donates inside and outside of a district, that's pretty typical. In fact, less than 1% of eligible voters donate to campaigns. That means less than 1% of us are deciding who is going to be on our ballot. The ballot access is specifically held in those people's hands. Now, in Seattle, they have 8% of eligible voters now deciding who is going to be on their ballot because of that program. It was an increase from 8,000 people to 48,000 people. That's a huge difference in who's deciding who is going to be on our ballot. And then you think about the candidates who can now run, who couldn't run before. but now they have access and opportunity to run if they have community support. And then you add to that the ranked choice voting piece of it. So now with ranked choice voting, you have the ability to get rid of some of the really bad parts of the campaign process that keep really good quality people from running. In Maine, they actually measured the amount of, I call it hate mail, but the amount of propaganda mail that was sent out, and showed how much paper switching to ranked choice voting impacted by reducing those number of political mailers. So we would be able to go to the ballot box, pick our first, second, third, and fourth choice, and have a very different election cycle during that process. And then at the end of it, know that we had the ability to help reelect or not reelect those people, depending on how their job went. So and along the way, we would see not only their fundraising, but how they spent their money, and not have this kind of like cloud of questioning sort of hanging over our heads. So if you look at them all together, it would make our elections more equitable so that all of us were equal participants in the process, and really enable a different candidate elected relationship to really foster. So I'm pretty excited about all of them and happy to take any questions, but would love to hear your thoughts.
Anyone have any questions for Diane and Amy? You can raise your hand or you can just speak up. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any questions.
Okay,
Atlanta, if
a
you're
lot to take in.
Are you speaking, Lynn? Oh, okay. I thought I saw you.
I raised my hand. I did have a question.
Oh, okay.
Is there a cap on democracy dollars? How much you?
There is, yes. So Seattle has set their cap. They've adjusted it a couple times since they sent their program, but there's other types of public financing. They all have set caps. Okay. Ours is currently set at $350,000 if you're doing both a primary and a general. And we've looked at it over the years, and that should be competitive right now, but the program has built into it some adjustments. Mm-hmm. To make sure, because what's happened in other places with public financing is, as long as you provide the candidate enough money to run a decent campaign, they will opt in. The majority of candidates running in places that have programs either with democracy dollars or matching funds, the majority of them participate. Mm-hmm. And because the voters prefer to see candidates coming from that model, and they can be competitive as long as they're not outspent by a significant margin. Mm-hmm. And so all the programs also then have a cap lift trigger. So if you have a candidate come in and spend triple the amount, then they do a lift. They've only had to do it a few times over the years, not in Seattle only once, but in New York a few times. So,
okay.
But there is a cap.
Thank you. Right. And what will it take to get this on the ballot for November then? Are you doing a petition drive or
yes. So okay. We are hoping that we have several folks on city council who have expressed support in the program. The challenge of the program, quite honestly, for democracy dollars is a lack of community awareness, because it's not as well known as other reforms, even though the statistics on it are just amazing. So our job is to get the word out and make sure that city council feels comfortable putting it on the ballot so that voters can vote on it. We think that's our best path. But that was the whole reason for us creating the video, was to try and create more conversation around it.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I see Jerry has her hand up. Jerry?
Yes, I have a question about the ranked choice voting.
Mm-hmm.
If a candidate has to receive 50% of the vote to win, mm-hmm. how often do you have to have repeat elections? How many cycles do you have to go through in order to get a candidate with 50% of the votes if you're having 5 candidates run?
It can vary based on their support. So for example, I'm in District 1, and my last election in the primary, there was 8 candidates, and the top 6 candidates combined the top 4 candidates combined had 60% of the vote. So if we had used that as a ranked choice voting election, depending on how that went up, it would have had to go through 3 or 4 cycles before those votes got distributed. But there are other elections where it happens pretty quickly, where there's maybe only 3 or 4 candidates have run in that election. And the majority of the candidates who vote for a candidate that falls out first support one person by default. And so all of their votes move up and it happens very quickly. So it can really vary. But there's a lot of examples of it from all the places that have been using it so far to kind of see how that nets out. But it really does vary.
Sharon W. had asked about ranked voting, to describe ranked voting again. Was that enough for you, Sharon, or do you need more of a description?
I may be a little bit more description because I'm still not kind of understanding it. Usually have a vote with primary and then it's people get on the ballot for the last election. So are you saying with the ranked voting, anybody who did not make the 50%, they get the second or third choice, the second choice along on the
got it.
vote? Oh, okay.
So let's separate those two questions if you don't mind, and I'll just explain ranked choice voting, because ranked choice voting can be used in any election. You could use it for book club, which actually I've done several times. There's a fun little app that you can use for help people decide what book they want to read for book club. And you rank them. And so if I like, let's say 5 candidates in a particular order, and I rank them, and candidate number 5, we're going to use numbers just to make it easy, has the fewest votes, that candidate falls out. Well, I had picked 5 as my first choice candidate, and I had picked 4 as my second choice candidate. So once 5 goes away, my vote gets reassigned to 4, and all of the votes for candidate 5 get reassigned to all the other candidates that they preferred second. So that happens at least 1, 2, sometimes 3 times. You know, it just, again, kind of depends on the voter preferences. And once one candidate has gotten to the point where they have over 50%, you can stop counting. Most places continue to tally just to have the numbers so that they see at the very end of the day. It's not going to change that candidate's win, but it does, show people's full preferences. Then you stop and you have your number 1 candidate. So there are places that use ranked choice voting to eliminate elections, period. And so then they don't even have a primary anymore, and they just send everybody to the general. In places like that, sometimes you can end up with a large ballot of 12 to 18 people, which isn't too great for the candidates, for one, because they really struggle with name recognition and getting the word out in such a large field. And then you also then have a lot more, money being spent on elections and things like that. So a lot of the more recent ranked choice voting efforts have been trying to cut that number down a little bit and using ranked choice voting in a smaller field in a general election. So what we're proposing is, in the city of San Diego, historically, only about 20% of the time do we have more than 5 candidates running in one of these elections. So what we're saying is, most of the time, everybody can just go forward and we'll skip the primary and save the money and we'll rank them in the general. But if we do have a large field, sometimes for mayor, we've had really big fields. Every once in a while, there is a race where it's like 12 to 16. So if there are a lot of candidates running for some particular reason, we would have the primary, and then the top 5 vote getters at the end of the ranking process would go forward. So we are doing it a little bit differently, but like most Represent Us chapters, everything is based on the specific city. We don't just copy and paste exactly from another city. We kind of look at what makes sense for our city. So that was one of the things that the League of Women Voters and Alliance San Diego and some of the other groups that are part of our partners felt like it was a good compromise until we can get somewhere where we could maybe have ranked choice voting for other elections, like county elections and state elections, and then we might consider it differently. So. Oh, and we're going to put a little link in the app that takes you to a little 30-second explainer video for ranked choice voting. That's probably much more clever and fun than I am. So I will stick that in the chat.
Any other questions?
Yeah, one more quick question. So the chance of moving over to ranked choice voting for the city, is that going to be on a ballot?
Yes. Yes. It would not be something that was just implemented. What we're trying to do is get it on the ballot so people can decide if it's a system that makes sense for them.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Right. Good questions. Anybody else? Right. I don't see any other hands.
Okay.
I don't know if you all will stick around. Maybe there'll be a few in the chat
We
coming.
have a couple more things to share about
Oh, okay.
upcoming events and how you can be involved. So
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay. So More Choice, which is the coalition that is supporting ranked choice voting, is having a volunteer kickoff this February the 22nd at 5:30. And Amy's going to put in the chat the link to this if you're interested in becoming involved in getting the word out. We'd love to have you join that. For Represent Us, we are hosting a presentation on February the 23rd called How a Bill Becomes Law. And we have a panelist, two panelists, David Alvarez, who was a city council member and ran for mayor, as well as George Biaggi, who is a former city clerk in San Diego, to talk about how bills pass through the council and the committees and all that good stuff. And if you're interested in volunteering with Represent Us, Represent San Diego, because we're the local guys, we have a lot of great advocacy opportunities, and you can help empower San Diego. And we're a real fun bunch. So, you know, we'd love to have you if you're interested. And lastly, there is a Voters Voice event that's happening. And I didn't put the date on here. This is March the 3rd. And reform experts will share about democracy dollars and how it empowers voters and increases civic engagement and reduces big money influences. And that's another thing that we'll put in the chat, a link in the chat to attend that one. And with that, I'd like to say thank you very much for letting us come and talk to you about all the stuff we're doing. And these are all the million ways you can get in touch with Represent Us. on website, email, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we're everywhere. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was great. Thank you.
Okay.
Good presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah. So anybody else have any questions? It's a lot of good information, and make sure you check your chat for all the links.
If you don't get it from the chat, we will have it in our minutes tomorrow, which will be up on our website tomorrow. So any links that you missed tonight, you can catch tomorrow. Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Diane and Amy. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. So we'll move on to our results of our 2022 priority survey and next steps.
Lots of screen sharing tonight, folks. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I muted myself again. Okay, so last month, we put together, based on member votes or member ideas for things that we wanted to focus on this next year, the community council. And we had a phenomenal turnout. That's the best turnout vote we've ever had on anything we've done for the community council. So I've listed these here in the order, the number of votes received, and of course, traffic calming and pedestrian safety are, of course, number one again. So the last two, placemaking and replacing some of the non-native trees on city property, those received the smallest number of votes. And so I want to share that these are the priorities that we're going to focus on for this next year. Traffic calming, we want to see more trees in the community, and Kara's going to talk about that. People asked about the possibility of traffic circles and roundabouts. And the last two circle back to the other issue that for our community that always seems to come up, and that's community identity. So we'll just real quick, this is where we're at right now. Bruce mentioned, I had a conversation with Bruce after the last meeting. The city has the funding now and does plan to install the radar becalming signs on Rolando, Vista Grande, and Aragon. They just haven't determined locations, and they will have to come out and talk with residents to see who's going to be amenable to having another pole in front of their house. But it is sort of in the works. I want to say also that 5 years ago, what kicked off this being a priority for the community was that we did traffic studies on the north-south streets in Rolando Park. And it's been 5 years. We're going to ask the city traffic engineering to revisit those streets, because I think we need to understand a little bit more about the increase of traffic and speeding that we're seeing now, and also lots of stop sign running. So we did, in the past few years since that first traffic study, we've done a couple of programs ourselves through the Community Council to try and slow down traffic. One of them was the Community Pace Car Program. We piloted that program with the police department. We're the first community in San Diego to give that a try. We had modest results. Mostly, I think we just couldn't get enough neighbors engaged in committing to driving the speed limit in their own community. And we did a yard side program with the Rolando Park Elementary, and you still will see some of those yard signs throughout Rolando Park. So again, if anyone has ideas for what they think a community initiative that the Community Council could look at, think about it, drop it in the chat, send us an email, contact us at rolandopark.org, and let's see what else we might consider. Because the V-calming signs are not going to fix the speeding issues that we see, and they're not going to fix the stop sign running problems that we see, and they're not likely to fix the volume of traffic that we see in the community. So now I'm going to turn it over to Kara for a few minutes, because Kara is heading up this part of the priority for this next year. Kara?
Thanks, Lynn. Yes, so definitely looking at planting more trees in our community. And there is an ongoing program right now through SDG&E called Sustainable Tree Program. Last year, SDG&E planted over 10,000 trees in other communities. And I've spoken with the arborist specialist over there, and they've agreed if we get enough people to sign up into the community, that they would be able to bring in and not only give us trees, but plant the trees. So it's a really great opportunity for Rolando Park because number one, it's been our priority this year, this focus, but the fact that we would be able to get some muscle and free trees behind us to make it actually happen would be great. As far as some kind of statistics, with Rolando Park, we have a low tree equity score, which means that kind of compared to other communities, we have less trees. Our canopy cover, they've kind of placed a goal that it should be around 40%, and we're only at 10. So it means our community really could use more trees. There's quite a variety that are available. The main thing to be able to make this happen would be to get people to sign up for it. So we need to get at least a number of 500 trees for SDG&E to be able to come out and plant the trees for us. And so we need to get those numbers of community members, your neighbors, talk to anybody that's living around Rolando Park that is interested and has an area that they could put anywhere from like 1 to 5 trees on their property. It could be in the backyard. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the little sidewalk out in front. So we're looking to try to build up that list of neighbors who are willing to get the trees planted, and then we can push this project forward.
Kara, I also want to mention that we thought we might reach out to Redwood Village as well, our neighbors. So if our Redwood Village residents are still online, we would like to talk to you about engaging in this project with us. So.
Definitely. And as far as contacting us to get on that list, Lynn, did we have a recommendation for the best way?
I will post it on social media. Probably we'll get a form up on our a website, and then we'll post that, and you can just it'll be like a contact us, and it'll probably the number of trees you'd be interested in, and we'll get that up within the next couple of days. I need to just finalize it with Kara, but then we'll get this ball rolling. Okay. And we will open it up also to Redwood Village. So I'll make sure that you are posted on like next door. So you have access to this information as well. Okay.
And just to note that 500 is the minimum. There can be much more. And so if you're able to, again, encourage others and neighbors that you have close to you to sign up, that would be great.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions on that? More trees? Okay, thanks. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next priority as well that people asked about. I think that the best course that we decided on is to see if we can have our traffic engineer meet with the community and discuss the feasibility of traffic circles and roundabouts. You don't see a lot in San Diego yet. It would have to be a Zoom meeting because I don't think she's able to meet in person. And normally traffic engineering can't meet after hours. So we probably would schedule it late in the afternoon. And we'll record the meeting, and then we can share it with anyone who wants to understand the issues and what would be required for the city to even consider us for it. Okay. Well, something will happen in the next month or so on that. I think that one's pretty straightforward. Secondly, our community identity things. Dave Castro, Rolando Park neighbor and volunteer, has volunteered to help us. He's a retired contractor. He would love to see a monument sign at the Pocket Park. So he's going to meet with him in the next week or so. We'll get a material cost. We sort of already know what the permit fees are from the city, and then we can look at what the ballpark amount would be to go forward on this. But I think one thing we should also think about at the Pocket Park is how great a monument sign is going to look with the Pocket Park. So we might want to look at other funding sources to see if we can clean the Pocket Park up a little bit. It just needs some help. Okay, and last, we did have another artist in the community who's interested in doing a mural on the underpass, sort of a welcome to Rolando Park. I've been told that any mural on the underpass cannot have text in it, which would make a welcome to Rolando Park mural sort of challenging. So I will get the requirements and we'll know more in the next couple of weeks from Caltrans. At any rate, we'll have to find funding to do that, to pay both the artist and pay for materials. He's, again, like Dave Castro, he's willing to work for peanuts, but we do have to pay him something, and we do have to pay for materials. And all of that, of course, has to be approved by Caltrans. They would have to see a design, a mock-up, and everything to go forward with it, okay? But those are all, yes.
Sorry, quick question. So we already know that they won't allow text or words?
Yes.
Oh, wow, okay.
Well, and I
behind that.
Yeah, I know it. It would make welcome to Rolando Park sort of challenging, since we are a community that has trouble with a community identity.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's, he's an artist. I'm willing to see what he can conceptualize without using text.
And I'm wondering, considering we have kind of a representation, which is the art that we have on our banners.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe that could be a part of it because they see it under the thing and then they'd see our banners and then they can connect it to us.
Exactly.
Because we have
Yeah,
a banner
that's a
right
good
there that
point.
says Rolando Park right there next to the underpass.
That's true. Yeah. Those are all good ideas. I see Cheryl just posted that in the chat as well. Same thing. So that's great. Yeah. So let's, we don't have anything yet. These aren't going to happen next week. These are projects throughout the year. So we'll see where we go from here. And last thing I just want to mention before we close out for the evening is that next month, the project manager from Sandig is going to be here to update us on the University Bikeway. He presented last week at our planning group meeting, so I sort of know what it's going to be. And I've asked him to bring lots of visuals so people can see what this is going to look like. There will be some changes on University. It's actually been delayed again since I first talked to him. It'll be late this year before they even start. But it should be interesting. So, okay, that's all I had. Questions? Any questions, thoughts? Oh, and thank you, Anna Laura. Thanks for staying on and providing us with some much needed information.
All right.
All right.
Any other questions or any input from anyone?
I actually have a question for Sandy and Tim and Nordine, and that's about how we can outreach to the Redwood Village community. If you want to get engaged with us on this, the tree program, how can we reach more residents in Redwood Village to take part in this with us? So you don't have to answer tonight, but if you think about it and we could talk maybe next month at the latest, or you can always email contact us at rolandopark.org. But we need to, since you don't have your own community council right now, I don't know how to reach out to Redwood Village except through the mailing list or next door. And I'm not sure that we're getting people that have the same level of interest. Who would come to community council meetings. So anyway.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Anything before we wrap it up? And again, I want to remind everybody our next one, as you mentioned, Lynn, is going to be about the bikeways next month.
Yes, March 14th. It's on the 14th again, March 14th.
Okay. So it would be interesting. So you can see how we hope that this kind of changes the university, I guess, businesses and traffic, and it'll be interesting to see how it can affect and in a positive way our stretch of the university.
Right, and this will be from 54th to 70th. So this will go through Redwood Village. And one thing I know that's going to be changed right away, and I don't know if Redwood Village knows this, is the intersection at Redwood Village and University is going to be completely reconfigured to make it safe for pedestrians and cyclists. So if you can encourage anyone from Redwood Village to come next month and take a look at the drawings and plans, you'll get a better idea for what it's going to look like there. Okay.
Can I ask a question about something we really haven't messed with tonight?
Sure.
Or I can wait till next month. Have we ever offered the staff or people who manage the Salvation Army facility to come to our meetings?
Yes, they've attended several times. We actually have it on our schedule to ask the new director to come later this year, probably in April or May. I can't remember. I have to look at the schedule. But
okay. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm sort of hit and miss. I might have missed them when they've been here before.
They probably haven't been in the last couple of years. Well, who's been in the last couple of years? No one. Yeah. But yeah, they do come periodically. We invite them to come and talk about programs.
Okay,
they're
thank
doing.
you.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Hey,
Well,
just
thank you,
just a
everybody.
note
Oh,
before for the trees program. One thing I was wondering is if we could actually ask the city if we can put some trees at the roundabouts that they created on Streamview Drive. That they're basically a bunch of concrete that's quite ugly, and always wondered why they didn't actually put any vegetation on these, and kind of asked that they could continue doing a bit more greeneries when they do some work, because it's really not good for the climate and everything else. So
No, and I know that that's Streamview, right, Nadine? Because I think the Oak Park Community Council has also raised that same point a few weeks ago, because Streamview divides Oak Park and Redwood Village. They did ask the same question, why the city plan for that doesn't include any trees and landscaping. So let me talk to Richard Diaz and see if I could ask him to join one of our meetings for a few minutes, if you wanted to talk about that, talk about the tree thing.
yeah, that'd be great. I mean, if if they have redesigned a little bit of because there's still phase, I would say 1 and 3 or something like, or 2 and 3 that's still to be done, and if we can influence that a little bit, that would be good. But in that spirit of putting some greeneries, they've done completely opposite there.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
okay. Good. Nice. Good things you guys are bringing up. It's great.
Yeah, it's really good.
Anything else? Okay, great. Well, thank you all for joining. Hope to see you all next month. And you guys have a great evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Happy Valentine's.
Happy Valentine's
Happy
Day.
Valentine's Day.
Bye.